Good afternoon. Today we released CDM Plus 11. This upgrade has a lot of new features and a slew of bug fixes. We are really excited about this release and can't wait until you start using it. This afternoon, we want to take a few minutes and go over the top 5 new features in CDM Plus. But before we begin, I want to go over a couple of housekeeping issues. We'll be handling questions at the end of the talk. You can ask your questions during by entering them in the chat window, which can be accessed by clicking on the chat button at the bottom of the Zoom window. Chris Widener from our marketing department will be monitoring these questions, and we will answer as many as we can at the end of the talk. So let's get started by looking at our first feature, audit logging. Audit logging tracks changes to records throughout CDM Plus. You can access this information by clicking on the Info tab designated by the blue icon on record frame windows. Here we have the individual record frame open. We click on the blue eye to reveal, and this reveals the audit log data. The upper portion of the tab shows who created it and when it was created, along with when it was last modified and by whom. In addition, you have the ID of the record and the source of the record, where it originally came from. In this case, it was originated from Engage. At the bottom of the window, list all of the changes that have occurred to this record. In our example of Brenda Murray, we see that there have been 5 changes to this record since June 27th. These have been made by 2 different people. If we want to look at detail associated with one of these, we just click on the name, like I'll click on the one that I made on June 27th, and we can see that on that date, I made a change to the membership code, and I changed it to joined by transfer. We also know from this is that under the old value, this field is blank, so we know that there was no previous value for membership code. This, in a very simple way, is audit logging. It gives you the opportunity to be able to see what changes were made and by whom it was made. This is going to be very useful to you when you need to reconstruct events to see who made those changes and when. Now let's move to search. CDM Plus 11 has enhanced the find field on simple and advanced search windows. Previous versions of CDM Plus would show a list of fields separated by red header names. In CDM Plus 11, we have made it easier to tell which fields are associated with which record frame windows. Here on the left, you see the way this window looked in CDM Plus 10.2.6. As you scroll through the menu, you see fields separated by the red header names. Many times you had to scroll through a long list of fields before you got to the record frame fields you wanted to see. Now let's see the same menu in CDM Plus 11. If we click the Find option under the left sidebar, and then click our Tab key, it opens the new Find Fields menu. You see that this menu is streamlined the way you look at the different fields associated with different record frames. Rather than having a long list of fields separated by red headers, now you can select those fields in the left-hand column. And when you select one like address, you'll see a list of all the fields that are associated with the address record. Or if you select individual, these are the fields associated with the individual record window. By default, it always goes to all, where a list of all the fields associated with all these different tables are listed alphabetically. In order to do a search, you just put your cursor in the Search All Fields area and begin typing. So if I want to do a search on a last name, I just start typing last and the first few letters of name. As you can see, the window has narrowed my results down to individual last name, which is associated with the individual records, and last name, which is associated with address records. If I want to select the address last name, I click on the tab, and then I use my arrow keys and move over to the right-hand side of the window, go down and select last name. Now I can either click enter or double click and put the last name field in the find field window. Now I can go through and complete my search and do a find and find all of those individuals and have a last name equal to Jones. After finding data, many times printing a report is your next step. And we didn't forget about reports in CDM Plus 11. One of the most often requested features we've had is the ability to take report data directly into Excel. So in CDM Plus 11, we added the ability to print to Excel. If you have Excel installed on your computer, you will see an Excel icon in the report toolbar. If you're on a Mac and you have Apple Numbers installed, you'll also see the icon for Numbers. These icons give you the ability to print directly to those specific applications. It's as simple as printing to your printer. You set up your report, get everything the way you like it, and then you click the icon. So in this case, I would click Excel. Here it does the search, prepares the report, then it opens Excel and you see your data. It's all one step. No longer do you have to worry about taking it and exporting it to a text file and then bringing it into Excel. In addition to print to Excel, we've streamlined the custom listing and export reports into one report. Here we have the new contribution custom listing and export report. On the right-hand side, you can see that we have preview and a data option. This is where you'd be able to see your custom listing report under preview and the data that you want to export under the data option. Just as any other of the reports, you set up your search, you select your columns that you want for your set, and then under preview, you select preview and click refresh. This will print out your custom listing report in the preview window so you can look at it and see if it's the data you want to print. However, maybe you decide you don't want to print the custom listing report and you just want to get this data in an export format. So you can click on data, and now the report will show all the data that is going to be exported based on your search criteria. And then you can also click through that and see what data is associated with a search. If you want to print your preview, you just do it like you normally would by clicking on print or PDF, and that will print out a report to your printer or print the PDF to file. If you want to export your data using the data export, you just click on the export icon in the toolbar. Combining this report with the new print to Excel gives it much more capabilities. Now you don't have to worry about just exporting and importing like you would normally. Now you can just click on Excel, and this will take that data that you were going to export and export it directly into Excel just with one click. And there's your data. As you see, you scroll through, there's no footers. So all you have is just a list of your data that you wanted to export. A very convenient way to be able to either see data via a report or by taking it and exporting it and putting it into a third-party program. We think the new custom listing and exports reports will make it a lot easier to get the data that you need just from one report. Finally, I want to move back to our record frame windows. These windows store a lot of data, and a lot of that data and information resides under a lot of different tabs. These tabs were static, and you could not reorder or rename them or hide them. And so you just really couldn't do much to make your window more suited to your workflow. Well, that all changes today because CDM Plus 11 is a complete overhaul of how the record frame tabs work. As you can see, these tabs can be now scrolled by using the arrow keys on the left and right, or you can just use your mouse and horizontally scroll them right by putting your cursor in that field. You can also reorder the tabs by clicking and dragging. Let's say, for instance, I want to get the information from visitation and I want to put that up closer to my membership. So I go and I click on visitation and I move that tab right next to the membership tab. I can also move the attendance information tab there as well. This makes it extremely easy for you to set up your individual record frame or any record frame window in a way that is more suited to the way you work. In addition to reordering, you can also rename. So I can click on the Photos tab. Let's say we want to change photos. We don't want to use the term photos. We want to use the term pictures. And so we can change the name of that by just clicking on Rename and entering a new name for that tab. I click OK, and now that name is changed. I can do that with any of the tabs in this window. In addition, I can also hide tabs. Many times there's just tabs that you don't use. Let's say, for instance, you're not responsible for check-in, check-out, and you would not use this tab. You can just click on the three dots and then select Hide Tab. This hides that tab, and no longer is it visible in your tab bar. Let's take an additional one. Let's say you're not necessarily going to see events. You can hide that. And pastoral records. Now you have your tab bar set up the way you want to use it. Finally, you can also take and open a tab. So let's say you have some pictures and you want to be able to review them. Well, you can open this tab, and that will take that tab, blow it off into its own tab, and now you can place that tab window anywhere you want. This makes it more convenient to do reviews. No longer do you have to go between tabs, click one tab and go to another tab just to see what data is in it. You can take and open as many of these tab windows as you want. So I can go down here and I can say, open this tab, and I can just start placing them around, and I can then compare the data as I go. Well, with all the different ways that we can configure and change these tab fields, these tab names and tab bar, you need an easy way to be able to view the changes you made and even change it, maybe back to the way it was. And now you will be able to do that by clicking on the Configure button in the bottom left. Here you see that we've added a new section called Tab Settings. In this part, you can see what the current name you've given it, along with what the default description was when we shipped the product to you. So you can see that here with photos, we changed the name to pictures. Let's say on the membership, we really meant to change that to spiritual. So we go and we enter the name spiritual under the current description. In addition to these two columns, there's also two columns of checkboxes, one showing those tabs that are hidden and the other ones that are open. Those that have checkboxes are the ones that are open. As you can see, we have the membership, and then we have the pictures tabs open. If we want to close those, we could close it. We can close them by just unchecking that. In addition, we see the three tabs that we have hidden here. If we want to unhide any of those, all we have to do is uncheck them. And with these changes made, click on Save. Now the hidden tabs that we had are now visible again. And the change to the membership tab is now made. The name is Spiritual. However, we still have the Pictures tab window open. You can close that by just simply closing the window, and it'll place it back in its original location. Well, these enhancements to the tab bar are going to enhance your workflow by allowing you to configure your toolbar in the exact way you want it to look and the way you want to use it. This is specific to users and is not global. Well, these are the top 5 new features in CDM Plus 11. There are many more, and there are, like I said, a slew of bug fixes in this release. The update is available to everyone who is a member of our Premier Support Program. If you're on 10.1.5 or earlier, you will need to download the update from our website. If you're on hosting and running 10.1.6 or higher, 11 is available via the web updater. If you are self-hosted and on 10.1, you will need to download the upgrade from our website and install the program and upgrade your database server. If you want more information regarding the new features in CDM Plus 11, you can go to our website at www.cdmplus.com. Chris will be putting in the links to the different websites that I've talked about here, where you can download the update as well as get the new information. In addition, we're going to be holding webinars over the next few months showcasing more of the features found in CDM Plus 11. Well, that concludes our presentation for today. Chris, are there any questions?